collected by any parliamentarians.
Today from the EU trade officials, is this a signal that these talks might be breaking down?
Well, the New Democrats have been in favor of broadening and deepening economic relations with the European Union from the beginning, and we continue to advocate for a good trade deal with Europe. Unfortunately, the Conservatives have mismanaged this file from the beginning. I don't think bungling is too strong a word, and now we're faced with the prospects of either getting no deal or a bad deal, and that's not acceptable to Canadians.
How unusual is it, though, for a statement like that, I'm assuming you've seen the statement, to come out singling out the Canadians for, in the words of the Europeans, not doing the same, when on the same day you have Cameron seeming to suggest, oh, don't worry, we're making progress. What's going on here?
Well, that's a great question. No, I think it's very telling that the Europeans are publicly criticizing Canada in strong terms for being unable to conclude a deal. And I think this is part of the incompetence that the Harper government has shown from the beginning. They conveyed desperation, which now leads the Europeans to demand very strong positions, thinking that we have no choice but to cave. We have the prospect that the Europeans pointed out that Mr. Harper did not give his Minister of Trade the authority to conclude negotiations, which makes us look weak. We came to the table from the very beginning with a very short list of demands, and the Europeans had a very large list of concessions, so our position has been defensive from the beginning. So I just think that putting Canadians in a position where we either get a bad deal or no deal is a sign of very poor negotiating strategy on the trade front.
The Prime Minister was asked about the beginning of U.S.-EU trade talks, and would that kind of take the steam out of our, or the urgency out of concluding our deal? And he seemed to suggest that, don't worry, it's not going to affect what we're trying to do. Do you agree with him? Do you believe that?
No, I don't. And just about every trade expert or person affected by the negotiations has identified that once the EU turns its attention to the United States and commences trade negotiations, which I understand are going to commence shortly, that will have a negative effect on the Canada-EU trade negotiations. I think everybody recognizes that. So I think Mr. Harper is just trying to find some excuses for what has been a bungled file. I mean, he said that we would have a deal by the end of 2012. So all we're seeing is missed deadlines. We're seeing Canada continue to offer concession after concession after concession, and Mr. Harper's in a very bad position now. He either has to concede to the Europeans or walk away with no deal.
Why should Canadians care about this? This is overly process-driven. What's at stake here for Canadians?
Well, at its simplest, we want to open up markets for Canadian exporters. We want to increase our value-added products to the European market, and we want to, I think, preserve and protect important Canadian interests like supply management, affordable prescription drugs, and to have fair procurement rules so that Canadian governments have the policy room to bring in laws without worrying about being sued by European multinationals for loss of profits. So I think we can do that. We can have a good deal that increases exports and is good for the Canadian domestic economy. But I'm increasingly worried that Harper is not able to deliver that.